So Dave Levesque, we finally get together. We finally meet after all this time. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, as folks know, I run a political organization along with a great group of people. And our early events were held at this place called Brewed Awakenings. And they have this, over on Bull Hill Road, they have this that spectacular meeting room. And the proprietor of this new place was willing to use that room for the benefit of all sorts of folks in the community. And we never got a chance to meet, and I promised him that the least I could do, because what's the four most important words of any Rhode Islander? A blood oath, a sacred testament that all is Rhode Island? I owe you one. So, Dave, I owed you one for quite a while. So before we talk about your business, I just want to ask one really blunt question to put everything in perspective. Dave Levesque, Brewed Awakenings, how many Rhode Island teenagers has Brewed Awakenings represented their very first job?
Oh, it's got to be. We've been in business for 23, 24 years, so I would say it's got to be hundreds, close to thousands, probably.
Right.
At any one time, we had 116, 118 people employed last year. And that was probably at our peak. And you have a turnaround because it's not a permanent place for a lot of people. It's a stepping stone. You go in, it's your first job, second job, part-time job. So there's a lot of transition. So it's probably in the thousands. I would presume.
Besides the food, and we'll talk a lot about that, but besides the food, besides the beautiful spots, besides the all the different offerings you had in terms of food and adult beverages and coffees, what always has impressed me the most, because I've been to your places more than I've told you, was the folks working there. Very often, younger people managing young people. And that's the nature of the restaurant business. That's the nature of the hospitality business. There are a lot of young people work in it. It's hard work. It's demanding. It requires a number of talents. Your ability to work with people, your ability to prepare food, your ability to maintain a clean space for that hospitality. And if there's been any benefit to any of these bar and rescue programs, it shows folks that restaurants and running them are not for the faint of heart. There are an astonishing set of technical and facility style skills that one needs to employ just to open the door every morning. And the reason why I brought up the young people is that every single one of them I ever met, and I've been to your locations dozens of times, has been courteous, efficient, well-trained, and probably, since it's for a lot of them, this is maybe their first or second job ever, really getting an understanding of the responsibility of work and simultaneously helping save up money for tuitions or automobiles, or in some cases, helping support their family. It's Rhode Island, in New England, these are difficult times. So when you talk about being part of the community, it's more than just, it truly is a two-way investment, because organizations like yours are hiring 100, 150 people at a time. And all that money is staying local. It's not going out to some far-flung franchise office. It's not evaporating in the vapor of some big multinational company. Brewed Awakenings is a local organization employing hundreds of Rhode Islanders and investing, if you will, every day in their lives and the lives of suppliers all over the state. I needed to say that. I needed to get that off my chest, because I don't think folks understand the commitment that you have as part of your business and what business brings to a community when it's locally owned like yours. So I congratulate you for the years of business, being a successful Rhode Island entrepreneur in one of the more difficult and challenging states in the nation. And I say that with love.
Thank you.
Oy. So tell us, tell us your story. How did you get, I mean, again, not for the faint of heart, or is opening up restaurants, never mind multiple spots.
Yeah, well, it's been a long road. It started out a long time ago, 23, 24 years ago. It was an idea. You actually had a photo of my mom on the screen a minute ago. She had mentioned one day with another business I had, why don't we open up a coffee shop next door to this existing business we had called Bella Baskets, a gift basket store. And that's how it started. We started selling coffee and muffins, and eventually sold the basket store to Rock's Produce. And all of a sudden, Brewed Awakenings expanded. few years later, we opened up another location in Providence. Kind of didn't really know what we were doing, getting our feet wet. And then here you go, 23 years later, we got 5 stores right now. 2 have since closed since we've opened. We've employed as many as 116 people at any one time throughout the years. And we've expanded. We got drive-through locations. We got locations like you mentioned with full food, food service. You get sandwiches, paninis, grilled pizzas, wings, nachos, coffees. Go get espresso martini at a location, lock sandwich, iced tea, iced coffee on tap systems. You go get a bottle of Camus wine at multiple locations. And we just expanded over the years, and it's been a rough road. It's been a hard process. There's definitely a lot that goes into it, and today it's even more challenging than ever.
Talk to me about, if you will, the joys when things were good, because I'm finding that when I remind my friends who have businesses that if they can kind of look back to how it can be again. How many locations did you have at your peak, and where are they located, and where were they located?
Peak was 5 locations, but just as COVID hit, we took over another location in Joe Palino's building in Providence, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. And that was Nick's on Westminster that unfortunately COVID took at an early stage when this happened. Right. So that put us at 6 locations. Our store down in South County, which Faith had mentioned, has since closed. As soon as COVID hit, there was no business there. We closed that location down. We were in the mix of relocating that store. So over the past almost year and a half, we worked on a location on Old Tower Hill Road, the old Feet First Zero Wampum property. That was probably going to be it was our biggest project we've ever worked on. It got all the way up to just about $2.6 million. We were buying the property, knocking down part of the building, putting a drive-through in. So at our peak, 6. Since, and I'll tell you a little bit later what happened at that location, we decided to pull out of South County at this point, partly because of the governor speaking and closing businesses down, partly because the cost got out of control over there. So we're back down to 5 locations right now. Providence is temporarily closed until this COVID piece hits because there's nobody in the city. And we have 4 locations that are up and running at this point right now.
Mm-hmm. And where are those locations, and what kind of hours are you running right now, so people can find a way to get there?
Yep. 2 of the locations, the original store, they're located in Johnston. We call Old Johnston, the original one, 1395 Atwood Ave. Mm-hmm. 1 mile up the road on 1577 Atwood Ave, we opened up our Cherry Hill location, corner of Atwood Ave and Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. And then we opened up on Pontiac Ave in Cranston, as soon as you get off of 37, opposite 37 from Tasker is where we're located there. If you're heading towards Garden City, the end of Sockanosset Crossroad, that intersection. Mm-hmm. And flagship store, which is in Warwick on Bald Hill Road, about 8,000 square feet. That's Route 2, right next to J. Kaplan Jaguar, across from Best Buy and Olive Garden and a few other restaurants over there. And then most recently, we put a really good deal together with Joe Palino in his building at the old Nick's on Westminster. We took over that. We've modified that location to be a Brewed Awakenings and what we're going to refer to as a bistro. That'll be our only store that'll have a full-blown kitchen with grills and different things that we can even add more food to the menus once we kick that location open. So 2 Johnston, Cranston, Warwick, Providence right now. There's a few other that we're looking at. We're looking up in Smithfield. Just got a couple things for Mansfield, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. There's always something in the iron in the fire for another opportunity. And, we might be back in South County if something happens, if we can put it together. But that one we had to pull out of right now.
One of the things I like to talk about is the impact of businesses like yours on other businesses in terms of what supplier base that you draw from, because that's a critical part of if you will, the Rhode Island economy, and it's often understated. It's when locally based businesses buy from other businesses of Rhode Island, the velocity, if you will, of money The and it's a very simple equation. You buy produce, or you buy coffee, or you buy fill in the blanks from a local supplier. That local supplier then is able to reinvest in their business, hire people, and they in fact, if they're a producer of a particular product or food, that they are able to reinvest in their business, and they are able to hire people. And then, of course, the effect as it whizzes around our local economy can be astonishing to watch, which is why privately owned businesses are so important, why government, we'll save the lecture for another day, but why government does not create economies. Government does not really create jobs. Government takes money away from wealth producers like you and Faith, who hire people, hire services, buy products. So your supplier base, in terms of where you draw from, can you give us a couple examples of what you buy locally?
Yeah. Locally, I Am Monday Dairy, one of our big suppliers. We've been doing business with them 15, 18, 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
And with us, once you get in as a vendor, it's really hard to uh, peel somebody away to get in the door and take over business. We're very loyal to our vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So they're one example of a company that they're good to us, we're good to them, and we've created a nice relationship. And that's all our dairy, our eggs. We crack fresh eggs for every sandwich that we make. That's an egg sandwich. There's no frozen patty eggs like you get out of that Dunkin' Donuts place, and not to put them down. They're great. They're a great organization. I hope someday to be somewhere even close to them. But they're a great local company. We buy our cheese from them. A bunch of different items. Like I said, yogurts and milks and eggs and lemonades and different things like that. So they're a great company. They're local. Another one is Coffee Purveyor, excellent coffee out of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the Capus family. They're just a great family. They run a great organization. They're neat. They're clean. They're squared away. They got they reinvest into their own business. They got good people working for them, and they're our coffee supplier. We buy from them. They're it. Another guy is Rui Pereira. He's a local company. The product we get for espresso that comes from him. He's a local guy, a Rhode Island business. Obviously, his espresso comes from Italy, but that's another local guy. And then there's other vendors, some local companies that we buy biscotti from that deliver this smaller based, places like that. But those are a few of the more prominent vendors that we use. Another vendor that we use that's really good to us, it was mainly a little regional business. It was brought up by the Perkins family. It's now been taken over by GFS Gordon Foods. But it started out as a local regional type of business. They're a big purveyor of ours, and they're out of Massachusetts. So we still consider them local and a great company as well.
Right. And again, so if folks are listening or watching, imagine then, if you will, the trail of money that flows because someone comes up with a great idea and executes over a long term a restaurant concept like yours, and how important that is to, you mentioned your amount of the folks who produce dairy. You are, I've got to believe, a critical customer to yours. And let's just say this generically, because you guys are going to rebound from this in a manner that's going to take Rhode Island by storm. But ultimately, if business A spends a lot of money on business B, and then all of a sudden business A downsizes or God forbid goes away, that isn't just one store, one family business, one tragedy. That tragedy, and it, in a sense, I'm saying this not to the people of Rhode Island, because we're all of that, ham and egger type. We all dig deep. But what I have to say to our government is the impact is profound. The impact that creates a trail of tears and pain throughout Rhode Island as each individual business has to step back just a little bit. Opportunities lost, maybe forever. What do you have to say about how, we talked a little bit about the show, and the first couple of months no one was really going on. What do you, if you could have a sit down right now with the Solons, if you will, of Rhode Island, what would you say to them in terms of how we've conducted ourselves as a state during this period of time?
Well, I would say, like I've told everybody since day one, I think the first 30, 60, maybe even 90 days, you had to give everybody a break, and no one knew what was coming. You kind of got blindsided by this in those first couple months. And so whatever anybody did was great. But once we got outside of that, this has been handled pathetically. We picked and chose businesses that could stand up and continue to stay open, and we picked and chose businesses like Fate's, photography facility that had to close down, or Brewed Awakenings had to limit how many people could come in a store, and what hours you could be open. We used to be open. You asked before. We used to be open till 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And sometimes even work even later. We had events at multiple stores where we had entertainment license. Our old Johnston store, you could go there on any given night and we'd have 50, 60, 70, 100 people singing or dancing, or or karaoke or a comedy night. That's all gone. We don't have a store open beyond 6 o'clock right now. My Warwick store closes at 6 o'clock. My other stores, Cranston closes I think at 4. Cherry Hills 5, Old Johnston's 2 o'clock. Our original store has been there 24 years. We're debating whether we even keep that one open or we close it down for 2, 3, 4 months until this all comes back. We're losing $2,500 a week at the Old Johnston store. So what would I say to the people that are running the government? It's pathetic what they did. They should open up all businesses in the restaurant community. Outside of the medical community, we do one of the best jobs of keeping things clean, sanitized with our procedures far before this COVID piece ever came in. Now we're better, there's no doubt. All restaurants, I don't care which one you go into, there might be 1 or 2 you could scratch off the list. Everybody has pulled tables out, separated tables. We've added in all of our hand sinks are touchless now. And if there's not, you got another 1 or 2 that'll be done over the next couple of weeks. I mean, that's a cost of thousands of dollars to change each one of those over. Right. So that you can even be cleaner than what you were before. And here it is. You got a governor that shuts you down. The Commerce Department that says you got to be shut down. But yet you can stand in front of the grocery store clerk with that conveyor belt spinning around with people spitting and choking all over it all day long with their tomatoes and bags of cheese and chips and everything else, and walk over 3 feet and you're in front of a little piece of plexiglass where you're going to be really safe there. Then to the right, you got the bagger right next to you bagging. That's okay. But you can't have a bar at Cello's and sit and serve somebody a beer? It's ridiculous. So the way they've handled this has really picked and choose. We kept the liquor stores open. We kept the big box stores open. But we shut down the restaurants. There is no sign that restaurants are the cause of any sort of outbreak anywhere in Rhode Island. We had 2 people in 9 months that worked for us that actually got COVID, 2 young people. It was minor. It was no big issue. Each of those times we were forced to take 11 people off of our payroll. Not off the payroll, out of the store. We still had to pay them, which we hopefully get reimbursed down the road. But take 22 people out of a small business, where now we're down to only 60, 65 workers at any given time. It's almost impossible to even stay alive. We had to shut stores down. We had to manipulate and move people. So the way they're handling this now, it's absolutely pathetic. I'll tell you, we saw Gina go out, along with other governors, but we saw Gina go out to a wine paint night. What she did was great. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what everybody should be able to do.
Right.
Everybody's social distancing. We're paying $1,500 a month to store furniture that we had to pull out of our store at a storage shelter. Just to accommodate the social distancing with tables. The cost that not only my restaurant, but a lot of these restaurants are bearing is enormous. Right. And there's no real financial support. I'll tell you about that in a minute too. So I'm not happy with the way it's being handled now from everybody up there, even the people I like.
There are situations now, particularly with, and I don't call it the pause that we just went through. I called it the purge. And I called it the purge to be sarcastic, but also because we know that there are businesses who did not make it, who are, hanging on by a string, every cliche imaginable, on the verge of a nervous breakdown, who the purge ultimately pushed them over that edge. There is no scientific proof that purge did anything, accomplished anything. We're back right up now where we were. we're amongst the worst in the world. And there are reasons for that, none of which have to do with this sort of, make up the rules as the day goes along and how they treat a private businesses. And I just want to stress, I love your reaction to this. From where I come from, the world I speak of, private business is a mutual consensual relationship. You have a store. You sell really good coffee. Other people like coffee. And by the way, the reason why I'm speaking like a teacher to a first grader is because that's somehow, this is me personally saying this, not my guests, how you have to explain this to people in government. The last time I checked, you weren't running up onto Route 5, grabbing people out of their cars, dragging them, kicking and screaming, and then making them have a cappuccino, were you? I didn't hear any accounts of that.
No.
So while I'm being intentionally silly right now, it's a mutual relationship where people should be free to make their own decisions and deal with the consequences and the benefits. And the notion that somehow an industry, to your point, which has always been held to an extreme for cleanliness, and again, witness the bar rescue TV shows where, the guys walk in, suddenly sweep into your business with little temperature probes and, testing water and, looking at underneath sinks and a level that's almost impossible for people to maintain in their own private homes. That's an accountability you've had to have for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be really graphic here. Damn it, your places are far cleaner than anything run with the Rhode Island Department of Education. We put our children into schools with filth. And we're not going to allow you, who has an astonishing record of simply doing the right thing because, it's the right thing to do. And a lot of restaurants like yours, yet we're going to hold you up to a level that is virtually unattainable.
Yep.
I don't get it. I mean, what is that spiritually? I'm not trying to go emotional here, go Oprah on you, but spiritually, for someone who is, again, I've worked for myself. I know how hard it is. And that I certainly didn't operate a business at the level of Brewed. What does that say to you spiritually every day when you got up every morning with the responsibilities that you've always had, and now they've been amplified?
It's heart wrenching. It's heartbreaking. It's not only me. It's the people that we can't employ anymore. You mentioned the businesses that we do business with, and that trickles down. Your bug guy, your lighting guy, your locksmith guy, all these other people, your friends and buddies that are in the restaurant business that you just see peeling away and closing up. And great operators, people that have done a great job. And here it is. You had a few people up in the government, in our case, the local government run by Gina Raimondo, picking and choosing who should be open. She's had more outbreaks in her party, in her office, of people she's surrounded with, including the health department, than we had in Brewed Awakenings. And we got tens of thousands of people that come in every single week. Mm-hmm. She don't even sanitize her own mic and stand that they go spit and choke on all day long. But yet, you can't have somebody sit at the bar and get a beer. It's ridiculous. So it's heartbreaking.
You were about to tell me what the next what was your next level of frustrations you were about to elaborate on?
The lack of financial support. And I mean, I can talk about us directly because it's me, but it's everybody. Every single restaurateur that I see and know, and the ones that have either gone out of business or already closed, there's been no immediate upfront, let me get you the money in your hands so you can stay open. That money that came over, that $1 billion that came over to Rhode Island, was for the business community so you can survive, so the business community could pay its employees so they could survive. And it's been pulling and choking trying to get that stuff out. And the calculations they put together, how they figure this stuff out, is so convoluted. My wife was a CPA, master's in taxation. Thank God I got her on board to be able to do all this stuff. I heard and seen business that had to pay tens of thousands of dollars to go calculate how they're going to get 50 grand, 20 grand, 10,000, 2,000. So trying to get money out of this city, state, government that we have here has been ridiculous.
I've asked the governor on a number of occasions, as you may or may not be aware, I participate, much to the chagrin of some folks in the media world, on what I call my weekly date with Gina. And I ask her questions that are economic. And the reason why I ask them economic questions is, quite frankly, no one else is. And I'm an economics geek. I'm not an expert. I just simply play one on the radio, right? But ultimately, I'm looking at the dollars and cents. I often talk about shared sacrifice, which is intentionally ironic if you're a libertarian, because you look to the individual, not to the community per se, acting in concert with each other. You look to the independent actions of the individuals involved, which create a far greater symphony than anything government could orchestrate. Do you sense any shared sacrifice at all from our state government?
Where's the shared sacrifice? They go to work every day. They get paid every day. They get their money no matter what. They keep going. That's not happening at most of these restaurants. These guys have had to close down. Are we fortunate that we've paid attention and we have some resources? Absolutely. We never thought something like this would happen. We'll get through it, but we're still having it hard here. We still had to let people go. We lost opportunities. We lost locations. We have locations closed. We have locations losing money. And there's no shared sacrifice. We got to notice that our Cherry Hill location, they gave us so much money, we don't know what to do with it. I told my team, listen, we're settled. We got so much money with this last thing she put through. We got $500.
Sweet Jesus.
What are you going to do with $500?
It probably cost you that to apply for the goddamn money.
My Cranston location, we just redid that store. We did a full renovation. It was closed because we could not get people to work when this COVID piece was hit, and they were overpaying people to stay home. So we decided after renovating another location, that's it, we'll renovate this location, which we did. It came beautiful. But we had no people to open it. Even if we wanted to, there were no people there. Last month, when we were closed, we lost $22,000. The month before, we lost $22,000. There was no more PPP money. There was no more forgiveness on loans. There was no more, not having to defer your debt or your loans with SBA. That had all ended.
Mm-hmm.
We lost money. You know what we got for that store? Zero. You know why you get zero? Because you weren't open. Because you weren't open, you get nothing. They don't take in fact that you're losing money. Did they help a couple of our other stores? Yeah. Johnston, we got about $29,000 for. We're supposed to get some money for Warwick. It's going to be in the 20s. We haven't received it yet. But there's been no shared sacrifice. They held on to that money forever over there until the last minute. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to dole out money to the Cellos and the Cafe Nuovos and the Capriccios and the little guys and keep people going, they held on to that money every single day as long as they possibly could, reaping in the interest and trying to figure out how much money they can use to close the loopholes and the budget problems they created from day one. I can't run my business like that.
Yeah. And there they
is
were.
Is there shared sacrifice? No.
And there they were. I got into a little bit of a back and forth, if you will, with the governor, talking about, the pause, as we call it here, the purge. The purge was mitigated by the money that they were going to be spending on the purge. And here's the challenge, just by note of explanation. I'm up there. I get a couple of questions in. It isn't the Pat and Gina show. I can't monopolize that much time. But the question that they refused to answer, and Mr. Shikarchi was on the media recently, and I challenged him, the money that they gave out during the purge as a sop, if you will, to independent businesses like yourself was money that they should have given out, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. So
yeah,
it's not like this money's, and here's the point. So people say to me, well, you're a libertarian. Why do you want they broke it. They need to fix it. They continue to take money from us for their own purposes, their own crony purposes. And they won't allow us to do business. How much, and I'm not going to, far from it be to take a shot at the landlords because they're in the same position as everybody else. They're getting screwed. But is your landlord going to cut you, get you out of a lease early? Probably
No.
not. Who's going to lease it from him?
We've had no break from a landlord. Zero.
It's survival of the fittest at this point.
Yeah, one of the properties we own, the other 4 are all leased. But fortunately, we've been able to, with the help of the original PPP loans and our business, be able to get through those pieces. But listen, even that loan that they came out with, which was $2,000 to $10,000, the grant, we applied for. You know what they said? You can't apply for that for all 5 locations. It's for one. You're joint owned. So because I own all the locations together, they're all separate corporations, you can only apply for one. And you can only get between $2,000 and $10,000. So what do I split? $2,000 between 5 stores? We got a few $100 each. We split $10,000 between 5 stores. We get $2,000 each. It's ridiculous. Never mind. You know what I got? 0. I didn't even get $2,000 to $10,000. I got 0. And then one of the other loans they had, it was 3. You could get up to 3 businesses could get money. That original where they came out was $15,000. We got that, but only for 3, not for 5. We limit. So listen, it's tough, but
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's tough. But you go back to, is there shared, pain and suffering with the government versus the businesses? Absolutely not. I don't see people being laid off over there. They should be getting pay cuts.
Yeah.
There's no money going into the government. There's no sales tax going in, or sales tax is down. The food tax is gone. It's down to minimal. That 1% that the local cities and towns aren't getting it. So if that's the case, why don't we give everybody in state government a pay cut?
Yeah, and that was my point. I even said, no one's looking to crucify the people who are making $15 or $20 an hour, doing whatever it is they do. Those people, the salt of the earth. I don't doubt that most of them earn every penny that they get. But the sheer volume of upper 5-figure into 6-figure salaries. I mean, you take someone like Stephen Pryor. Is a $20,000 a year pay cut going to hurt him? Yeah, he'd rather have it. But quite frankly, the money's not there.
Listen, you could eliminate his position and we'd be in better shape.
You got me going there, buddy.
We get the $20,000 pay cut. That guy needs to go. I can't tell you about the Zoom meeting I had with him and Jared Cello and Lloyd Sugarman. Man, I had that guy smoking. He was so pissed. But listen, that's another story. They're not paying attention. What they should have done, Gina should have come out and said, listen, after the 30, 60, 90 days, listen, restaurants open up. Expand your hours. Those that do dinner from 4 to 12. If you normally seat 50 tables, spread it out. We're going to give you a little extra money to pay for that extra labor. We're going to give you a little extra money to pay for that extra utility. We're going to give you a little extra money to pay for the profits you might lose because some people won't come back in. And she should have been supporting those people like that, not shut people down. After 10 o'clock, COVID comes in, runs in over the bar, and everybody starts getting sick. No, that's a control piece. That's how do you keep Dave and Pat from talking at a bar? That's more what that's about. It's not about safety. You can't tell me you and I sitting at a bar, and we work together every day, is a safety problem, but yet the governor and her people can stand around at the podium, and that's not a safety problem. You can be at the supermarket. It's not a safety problem. You can own a liquor store. It's not a safety problem. If you get sick, where do you go? CVS, Walgreens. Got to go get your medicine. I haven't heard of a single outbreak where you had to close a store down and call the pandemic crew in because one of those places exploded with deaths and problems. Why are they open?
You go to a CVS bathroom and think about it. Maybe not. Don't think about it. But you're right. The sheer randomness of all of this, I think, is what finally tipped it for most of us. And again, to your point, I mean, the first 2 or 3 months. Listen, I believe you can respect this disease while simultaneously acting rationally. The symptom. I'm sorry. The cure in the form of all these closures will kill more. Far more.
Absolutely.
Than anything the disease could have done if, in fact, people just behave rationally. I wear a mask. I would choose to wear. I don't want the government telling me to do it, but I would choose to do it anyway. This is the only time of the day I get a couple hours, a couple nights a week where I don't wear a mask right now because I'm on the radio / whatever we want to call this.
Yeah, but here's the other problem with the mask piece. Can masks work in some cases? Yep. Are they going to work the way people are wearing masks now? No. You can't be using the same mask day in, day out. You walk in the store, you touch it, you take it off, you touch it over here, you put it on top of the table. People aren't following what a mask situation should be like. If you go into a hospital, they put the mask on, they don't touch it again. When they're done, they throw it away. It's gone. That's the proper use of a mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening. You see people walk around, they got spaghetti sauce on the mask. It's dirty. It's all ripped apart. It looks like it's been in and out of their pocket 65 times. It's on the dashboard, on the floor. Now they're sharing because they don't know whose mask is whose. Is that yours? Is that mine? We're not. Because it looks good. It sounds good. It's an image thing. That's ridiculous.
I'm with you. How looking at knowing the restaurant scene. I mean, you and our other guest tonight. If you're just joining us now, by the way, Dave Levesque of the force behind Brewed Awakenings is joining us. Earlier on this evening, we had Faith Dugan, who has a top-notch photography business, wedding-oriented, but capable of so many other things that she's doing right now, based in Newport. Both of them are representative of really one of the few economies with force left in the state. And I'm talking about entertainment / hospitality / restaurateurs. You think about it, from your experience as someone who's been involved in the restaurant business for decades now and been a Rhode Islander forever, there isn't much left in Rhode Island in terms of industry. Jewelry industry, long gone. Shoe industry, a faint glimmer in our grandparents' past. Ultimately, the costume jewelry business is even gone. The only thing left in this state is healthcare, because we have a rapidly aging population. The only thing left in this state is government. And the only thing really left in the state after that is what you and Faith represent. That sort of mass mixture of hospitality, restaurant business. What happens to this state once you guys are gone?
I don't know. You're already seeing people leave. I mean, you got people moving out. You got businesses closing down. There's no way some of these guys are reopening. Mm-hmm. And this is just the beginning. Right. Your population's not going to increase. Things are becoming more costly every single day with what they're doing and putting on you. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we think every day, do we want to expand more in Rhode Island? I'll tell you, one of the reasons we pulled out of that South County deal, and it wasn't that we were afraid to spend the money. Originally, we were putting $2.2 million into it, went to 2.3, then to 2.4. We were comfortable there. We don't want to spend that kind of money, but we were comfortable. But every time Gina opened up her mouth and put restrictions on business down to 50%, down to 30%, no nighttime business, close the bars down, more plastic, more sanitizing. Every time she spoke, we saw ourselves losing more and more market share every single day. 10%, 5%, 15%, gone. So if my business is going backwards, why am I going to try to increase and put more locations in Rhode Island? I'm not. That's one of the main reasons we decided to pull out of that.
Right.
So what's going to happen when you lose all this hospitality stuff? I don't know. It's going to be, you're going to have a lot of vacancy. You're going to have a lot of unemployment. A lot of people, listen, you talk about the trickle-down effect. We have not taken a single penny away from any employee that works for us. In a lot of cases, we're paying people more money. Who's got more opportunity? Because we need more people. People get paid more. New positions open up. We've promoted people to shift supervisors to managers. We've built our management team from shift supervisors to managers more now than we ever have. So we're investing more into our businesses, both the people and the brick and mortar, to try to survive. But even there, we used to be 120 people. Now we're down to 70 people. We're going to get back there? Maybe. But even if we do, how many businesses aren't going to? You hear them every single day. This restaurant's closing. This one's going out of business. This guy's got no money. This listen. I went out the other day. Great organization. You know, the Mooring. Those guys run a great job in Newport. There were 5 tables on a Friday night. How you like going out there? The guy at the bar can't sit there and have a drink. It's ridiculous.
It almost doesn't make sense to stay open. I don't know how you're in a lease, and this is kind of wrap things up here. Something you and I have discussed offline, but I love your public reaction to this. I believe truly to my heart that one of the reasons why we haven't had, just streets of empty businesses is they have businesses on leases, and that there are a number of businesses out there just trying to make whatever they can because they know they're going to get stuck with the lease. They know they're not going to be able to get off the hook. They know eventually they're going to have to come cocoa for the money for the lease. The businesses that are just hanging in there until the lease expires. And at that point in time, if it's a location-based restaurant, for example, or a location-based retail store, or it's something that requires a physical location, they're simply going to close their doors. And if it's the type of business they can do at home and maybe put a little money and set up a home office or something, they'll do it. But for the vast majority of Rhode Island businesses that are essentially location rooted, once those leases are done, do you think a lot of them aren't coming back?
Absolutely. Listen, I can tell you from my own experience. My Johnson store's been there 24 years, the original Brewed. I got 15 years of options after this 3 years runs out. So I got 3 more years of my lease. Then I got 15 years of options. If I have to give you an answer today, will I renew in 3 years? Absolutely not. That was my original location. We occupy 4 stores in that building right now. We occupy the entire basement. We got over 10,000 square feet at that location. We're the major tenant in that property right now. Mm-hmm. But based on the way things are now, we're just looking at, we hold on. We're tied to a lease. We're obligated to the lease, personally. We're not going to walk away from our obligation. I never have, never did, never will. But exactly what you said. There are businesses, when their leases are up, they're going to walk. Now, could there be a chance that we can turn it around, twist it, pivot, do something else, make that store work? Possibly. But right now, we lose $2,500 a week. How long do you want to lose $2,500 a week?
Cool, $10,000.
So do you close up temporarily? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you close up temporarily and lose $10,000? And yeah, we could do that. But now all of a sudden, the 7, 8, 9, 10 employees that work there, where do I put them?
Right.
Maybe I can keep a couple of them. Some I have to let go. We don't want to do that. We're trying to figure out everything we possibly can do. And that's why I said at the beginning, it is so hard as a restaurateur right now to operate in this industry because of all these challenges that the government is putting on you for no reason at all. Right. It's not like we're not sanitized. It's not like we haven't social distance. It's not like we haven't trained our people. We don't let an employee in the store if they're sick. And if they work 40 or 30 hours a week, we tell them, listen, by the end of the month, we'll make sure you get all your hours in so you can financially still accommodate your debts and bills. But today you can't work. So if you want to make up the time, we'll make it up. We'll put you in another location if we have to. We're doing everything we possibly can, but you can't sit at the bar. You can't be open past 10. You can't have this many people in. And the thing is, even if she just changes the rules, it's not good enough. She physically has to say, it's safe to go out there. I myself sat in a bar, at a wine bar, and it's physically good. Here are the restaurants that are doing the right thing. Go to them. Go support Cafe Novo. Go support Cello's. Go support Andino's. Go support Vonda. Go to these locations. Go to support the Coast Guard House or Toro Joe's. Go out there. But if you don't have the governor standing up and telling people to go out, what? Because she says now it's 50%, it's okay. People still not coming. The Mooring Restaurant, that's a major company. When you got 5 tables in there, that's a problem. We love that place. But nobody can survive. You can't, I don't care how much money you got. You can't hold on forever. Right. Eventually, the smart people just say, you know what, see you later, and walk away. So you're right. When leases start peeling over, people will be making choices. And it's not going to be, oh, we're all just going to reopen and be back to normal. Right. It'll be doors closed and people gone. And these are some great people.
there's this old Shirley Temple movie. And first of all, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I really do. This was very, very provocative, both of you. Not only are you outstanding business people who really do the Lord's work and contributing to the lives we have here in Rhode Island, but I think you both brought a very human perspective to this. But there's this great old Shirley Temple movie. I forgot which one. God knows you can't watch most of them now. They're so politically incorrect. But there's this moment where, and sure for folks who were born long after Shirley Temple graced this mortal coil, she played this little toddler baby, and things were desperate. It was at the height of the Depression. And all of a sudden, halfway through the movie, as they say, she breaks through the fourth wall. She comes out and opens the curtain and says, "Everybody, I've got good news. The Depression is over." And this whole Busby Berkeley style dance production then ensues for the rest of the movie. Happy pace. I'll never forget it. Happy times are here again. And but that's not the real world, because when I look at your restaurant in there in Johnston, your anchor, if you will, you are the anchor to that mall. Let's take. I'm going to leave this thought for tonight. How many businesses in that mall have profited simply because you're there, and very often because you can listen. If you drive down Route 6, you can see it. And please, if you're in that area, go to Brewed. Don't go to Dunkies. Dunkies will be okay. And quite frankly, you'll be the first real cup of coffee you've had in probably a couple months, right, at Brewed. But, you how many people pulled off into any one of it? I look at your facility in Warwick, spectacular building. How many people, your facilities are destination facilities. Not only do you bring money and wealth to the people who work for you, and yourself and your all related families and your vendors, but the halo effect that businesses like yours create wherever they operate cannot be denied. And unfortunately, what we need here in Rhode Island at the state government level is an economics intervention. I suggested this once to Mr. Filippi a few years back when I was testifying, as I often do, before I think it was the Judiciary Committee. And I said to him, what we're going to do is we're going to lock the doors, and we're going to give everybody an economics book, and we're going to make everyone read it, and they can't go out to the bathroom until they're done reading the goddamn book. All right? And he looked at me and he just started laughing, because no one in charge has any idea of the impact, in the case of the legislature, their abandonment of the state, in the case of our governor, her, if you will, takeover of the state.
Yep.
So
you mentioned shared sacrifice. All of those guys should be cut for pay. They should be working for no money until this gets reestablished and we're open. They don't do that.
Nope.
With the federal government, they give themselves raises. It's ridiculous.
Yep. No, it's all one big party. Or as our parents both probably said to us at one point or another, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, right?
Yep. What's it going to take for people to finally realize that their freedoms are being ripped apart? Ripped apart. No one's standing up. No one's getting up and going, enough is enough. We just either turn the TV off, or we just ignore it, or we're like, I guess I just got to close down early. What's the big deal? That the governor says it's the right thing to do. I can't believe people are not standing up and frustrated and be like, this is it. I'm fighting back. I'm not going to follow this anymore. I'm blown away.
Do you know Matt D'Amico from the?
I don't think so.
From the health club chain.
No.
The clubs. He was on here a few weeks ago, and he's a gentleman who decided to try and stay open. And
oh yeah, I did hear that story. Yeah,
right.
I don't know him, but I heard the story.
Great guy. You guys would be naturals together, by the way. I'm going to make sure you guys meet. This is Rhode Island, right?
Awesome.
So, and that's what we're trying to do here on the coalition. By the way, we're trying to bring together business owners to establish bounds so that they can support each other and do business with each other, but at the same time, kind of grow that sort of that love and feeling between these different sectors of the economy. Matt went out there and put himself out there, and he alluded to it when he was on the show. I certainly didn't ask him for a dollar amount, but I got to believe that episode where he took on the government, he fought the law, was a six-figure adventure between legal fees and between fines, which hopefully will get abrogated. That will all of this stuff. He big time money he laid out fighting it. And there were people out there who criticized him, called him selfish. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the business owners that I know, and I know a lot of them, bleed for their employees. And we get the fact that there's going to be an element of employees who always, is F-bombing the owner because he's got to be making all the skidall. And he's got to be, living the lodge and not understanding how much, folks like you have at risk, how much folks like Matt D'Amico have at risk. Heck, even on a sole proprietorship, folks like Faith Dugan, how much that they've got at risk for all of this,
Yep.
the financial commitments, the investments in equipment, just staggering, absolutely staggering.
Yep.
And how hard it is to, once that's broken, how to a gentleman a good friend of mine who's a caterer, fireworks catering, Mark Garofalo, he's down on Atwell. It's just tremendous, just is a wonderful chef. I've gone my last 2 or 3 holidays, I've picked up his ready to go meals because that's the kind of work that they're doing to replace their catering business. He talks poignantly about the crew that he had built together over the 10 plus years that he'd been in business, and the kind of chemistry that he'd brought together in terms of all the different people from the back of the house all the way up to the front. And he talks about how important that chemistry was to his business's success, and how hard it is to maintain that and or regenerate it once you lose some of those people. But you're right. They won't understand it because they refuse to talk to people like you on an even playing field. They know what's better for us, and they're literally stealing our futures.
Yeah, they say we're selfish, but yet she'll go out to a wine party and have a good time, and that's okay.
Yep.
They'll go to fancy dinner restaurants and have a good time. They'll go to hair salons and get their cuts or visit the people they can visit. But we're selfish because we're trying to survive. We're trying to stay open so we can not only pay our employees, pay our bills, abide by and adhere to our obligations financially with people. And we're selfish? So what are we supposed to do? Go out of business? Not like they wisely gave out the money.
Nope. And that's when they will all show up, crocodile tears. I'll never forget Patrick Kennedy showing up at a business closure after it was too late. There was just, the deal was done. It was the business closed, and he wanted to know what he could do. And the sad part is what they don't realize is that if they simply take less money from you, there'll be more to go around.
Yeah.
So
it's funny when the governor announced that she was brilliant when she did this. By the way, I got to give that to her. And everybody still talks about the 2-week pause, but she announced in 10 days we're going to have a 2-week pause. I don't care what restaurant you go talk to. That pause started the day she said in 10 days. So that put it at 24 days. And then she tacked on more time. She knew she was grabbing a month out of this. She would have been better off telling us all to close down instead of teeter-tottering with the strings, keeping us open. And we suffered through this entire period. It's pathetic. I'm surprised people are not standing up. I just don't know what it's going to take. I personally think every restaurant should be banding together, open up. Yes, follow the safety procedures we're doing right now. No one's saying avoid any of that stuff. But every restaurant should be standing up and saying we're not going to put up with this shit anymore. It's ridiculous.
I'm with you, buddy. I hope you know I'm with you. Well, again, thank you for joining me tonight. I know we've run later into the evening than we probably thought we were going to, but it's been quite a night here on the Coalition. I don't know if you caught some of our earlier programming, but it's been quite a night. And, I'm proud to call you our friend, even though we've never actually met. It's always been virtual.
I was there. Anytime you needed the space, I was there for you, and I'll still will be. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm always there to help everybody.
Now, you guys do a lot for the community. And again, I'm going to close rhetorically with the question I opened up with. How many young Rhode Islanders, in a sense, you're kind of, remember McDonald's used to advertise like this. How many young Rhode Islanders has Brewed Awakenings represented their first real job with responsibility? As you put it, thousands. we keep on this current course, and there will be an entire generation of young people who won't have an opportunity to get that first job, to work at a place, to work either at Brewed or a place like Brewed Awakenings. And, that's a legacy that you can be immensely proud of. And I hope that somehow we can find a way to continue that. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. And let's get together again in a month or so, and hopefully your happier times, and we can do some, what we call here, #food porn, where we can either go to the shop and take some pictures in real time, or actually interview you at your store where people are lined up, and the Busby Berkeley types are singing "Happy Days You're Here Again," and people in Rhode Island can do what they always want to do, which is go out, have a muffin, have a cup of coffee, maybe with a little anisette, and just sit there, stare at each other in shock, and then do what we do best: argue with each other, right?
Absolutely. Cheers.
All right. God bless you. All right. And let's stay in touch. Let's talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great show. All right. Bye-bye.
We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Radio Network here at coalitionradionetwork.com, facebook.com/the Coalition Radio, on the Mighty Mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio. Folks, it's been a long evening, but we've covered a lot of turf. This will be sliced and diced, and we'll have this back up on the web tomorrow. And again, thank you for spending the evening with us. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Ramp. Tina Peterson, host, I'll be joining her. We'll have sort of a year in review on some of the shows that she's had landmark stuff recognized by none other than, Governor Gina Raimondo this past week with an award recognizing her contributions to folks who are facing physical challenges, to folks who are overcoming immense obstacles, warriors like her who are just incredible examples for what you can do. Stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.